All right, welcome back to the Lounge podcast here at the Gents Place in Frisco at Dallas Cowboys headquarters. I've got a very special, I'm not even going to call you a guest. I said this is a conversation with just two guys, so you can treat me as guest if you want to, since you're an owner in the brand.
Okay.
But I've got a very special friend of mine and owner in the Gents Place, Glenn Franson, who came in from San Antonio today. We had a observation day, which means franchise candidates have shown interest in opening a Gents Place, and we take them through a process. So Glenn and I just finished that and got some good candidates today.
We sure did.
I feel really good about them. But a little bit about Glenn and I's relationship. I have known Glenn since I was a teenager in high school.
And known of me.
No, I've known of you, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and get out the truth before you throw me under the bus.
Okay.
But the story goes that when I was a teenager, my best friend worked at a restaurant that he owned, and Glenn could not figure out the liquor percentages. The expenses kept rising on the P&L.
Yes.
And it turns out that my best friend was pilfering alcohol out of the restaurant, and I may have had a sip or two of that said alcohol.
Okay.
But we've known each other since I was a kid, but reconnected back in 2015. And Glenn had a thriving business called Massage Heights, over 100 locations at that time. And I was thinking about franchising. And so Glenn and I just fortuitously bumped into each other. And I told him I was thinking about franchising. He said he was in the business, which I had known already because we had even done some work. That friend, actually the friend that stole the alcohol from you, I hired at the insurance company, and then he ended up insuring like the first 50 or so Massage Heights locations. I forgot about that.
He did.
So long story short, we decided to partner in the franchising of the Gents Place. And so Glenn is an owner in the brand and a dear friend of mine. And the lounge show, Glenn, so because I know you have I gave you 30-minute notice, like, hey man, you want to do a podcast? The lounge show is about featuring members of the Gents Place, featuring them, highlighting them, talking about why they became members at the Gents Place, also what they do for a living, because we have some fascinating members.
Yes, we do.
And letting our other Gents Place members know about the types of gentlemen that come in here, and the quality of their character, and maybe they learn a little bit about their businesses and do some business with fellow members. So that's the whole concept of the show. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to get just real quick, 2 or 3 lies about me just out of the way?
No, the truth is this. The truth is that I envy you in so many ways. You're just an incredible father, a brilliant businessman. You've been one of my best friends, and you're someone who I look up to greatly. I tell everyone that I know that same story. The truth is, Ben, is that I don't even want to call you an old soul, but you're just such a mature person. I'm very proud to call you a friend and honored to be in business with you. Well, that's the truth.
Well, thank you. I do feel like an old soul because my wife Lauren, we've been together since we were 16 years old. We always felt like we should have been born and living in like the 50s and 60s. Because, you hear that music.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, they don't make music like that anymore. And you watch the shows and like how men treated women back in the day. I know there's a dark side.
Well,
but at least what was out there publicly looked good.
Right. It was a different era for sure. I grew up in the 70s and I still have some very fond memories. And, I often think back, what was it like? What was it like turn of the century? What would it have been like to serve in any of the, world wars or in Vietnam? I'm fortunate enough to not have had to, not old enough to do that. But I look at some of these older movies. I'm a person, if you know me well enough, I'm a collector. I collect antiques. I collect various things, but usually something that's been pre-owned, pre-loved, and admired by somebody else, whether that's art or whether it's a wristwatch or whatever it may be. But I really love antiques because it tells a story about a day gone by, a day that maybe our kids won't have the opportunity to live in that way. I think that there's something that is true to the statement that all of our grandparents said was, this generation of yours is, of course, losing all its moral fiber. And, but wow, what a beautiful time, 40s, 50s, 70s in America. And I feel like we potentially, could have this Renaissance period ahead of us. I'm actually really excited about what the future holds, and with hope that more people um, will kind of become their authentic selves, live their lives the way that I think that God intended us, the way that we're most happy, and which is a simpler kind of life.
Mhm.
But
By the way, do you ever feel old when when you think and you say out loud, kids these days, or can
yeah,
you believe?
yeah, well,
I never thought I would say that, but I found myself saying it over and over again.
no, I do. I definitely am my dad. I definitely am that person. My grandfather, even perhaps. Uh, and the kids, I'll tell you, they are younger and younger, and the things that they experience, particularly through the internet and social media, they're on like a fast track to experience everything in a lifetime in a very short time span. It does make me feel old because I'm not that tech savvy. I'm not that active on the social media and whatnot. But
That's how you know, by the way, guys, when someone says the social media,
the
that's how
social
you know
media,
it's like the Facebook.
the
That's how
Twitter,
you know
yeah,
that you're not with it.
yeah, that's for sure. Well, that I have a daughter, stepdaughter,
Yeah.
Brooke, who's 30. We have three of her dogs in the house with us currently, my wife Stacy and I. And the girls, my wife and daughter, refer to the dogs as my grandbaby. So they say, "Go ask Grandpa for a treat. Go ask
Yeah.
Grandpa for." So yeah, if I wasn't feeling old by the time the day is over, I certainly am. Yeah.
Well, the lounge is going to be a show where I know at some point, I don't know if it's going to be explicit or not. I've got to think about all the rules. If I'm going to ask someone like, okay, man, we know you came on the show to sell something. What are you going to sell? Because we do want our members doing business with other members. So
Sure.
I want that to be part of the show where if you're the world's best insurance adjuster or, got the yogurt shop down the street or custom clother, we want you to buy stuff. But I feel like, if I asked you what you're going to sell, you're going to try to sell one of these dogs or all three.
Well, you can have them for free.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I saw a great quote lately. I was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I was in a park, and there was a bench that had been gifted to the park by someone. I don't recall the gentleman's name, but he had a quote on there. It said, "I never said that I make it the best. However, I haven't met anyone yet that makes it better than I do." Now, I don't know what it is. Is me a pie baker? Is he,
Yeah.
manufacturing? I don't know what it was, but maybe it was making love. I don't know. But what I do know is that I really took something away from it. I thought that's probably a guy that lived a great life. He was not probably someone who had a big ego, right? Because we all know what ego can do to a person. But he believed in himself. He had confidence in himself, and I think the fact that he left a park bench to a city park probably says lots about him. But yeah, it was interesting. You went that path. No, the dogs, come and get them. My address is. I've actually been right now. I'm helping a gentleman by the name of Gary in San Antonio. Has just got out of the service. He was a dog trainer in the service for 20 years. He's just retired a year ago, and he started a dog training business. And so I'm helping him build a strategy right now on how he's, handling the marketing side of it and the business aspect of it. He's been a dog trainer, and that's what he does. So my hopes are that if I give him a couple more hours this next week, that he's going to end up taking my dogs in and training them maybe at a discount because
God, I
it
can only
is
hope for
expensive.
that, man,
Yeah,
for you. So
I need it.
you've
I
got
need
you've got you've got barking dogs on Zoom every time I talk to you. So
it.
and I can see your body language as soon as the dog barks for the first time. Your entire demeanor changes. So
Well, I absolutely love dogs, though. I mean, they are man's best friend, and there's nothing more loyal. And I can't imagine life without dogs. They're amazing.
you mentioned something earlier about well, I'll actually come back to that. I'll come back to that because I want to talk about some business stuff. Um, let's go back to 2015 when you and I bumped into each other in San Diego,
Okay.
and you realized I was the guy that was drinking all your alcohol
Yeah.
as a teen.
Right.
And then that said guy wants to potentially do business with you.
Yeah.
What was it about the Jen's Place or about me or the opportunity or whatever it was that from your side felt like it caused things to kind of come together?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ben. Um, the reality is that if you know me well, I'll help anyone with anything, right? If someone asks me for help moving, I'm the guy who'll do it. Don't call me for moving, but I just thought, hey, here's a guy who reminds me of myself 10 years ago. You were unafraid to approach. You kind of told me a little bit about the business, and I generally was just going to help you avoid some potholes, make sure you didn't get sucked into the wrong clique in any business. You have people that are that are doing it right, and you have others that are just in it for themselves. And I just wanted to kind of steer you. And so what happened is we had our first phone call. I think I was considering you to be a mentee. And I realized that, first of all, you're incredibly intelligent. And second of all, you kept telling me, this is more than just a haircut. And so it intrigued me. So I made a trip up to Dallas a week or two later, and I saw for myself. And I saw the level of passion that you have for the brand, for the community and a community of members, as well as the community at large. And I think anyone who meets you or that comes to the Jen's Place, they know that this is something special. It's lightning in a bottle. And I've always told you, Jen's Place, whatever it is that you put your mind to, you are incredibly successful, will only be more and more successful because you define success very differently than most. And here comes the part where I say you're an old soul, right? I think you've lived a lifetime of experiences that hopefully most people don't have to, but you've learned a lot, and you're a great teacher as well. I learn from you all the time. So for me, a business is not about, what does the bottom line look like? How much money can be made? It's about whether or not I enjoy the people. Do we share values? Do we see the same vision? Who's steering the ship? Is this where I want to spend my time? And for me, it was an absolute no-brainer to work with you, and I've enjoyed every day of it since.
It's been fun, man. It's been a fun journey. It's been a lot of ups and downs. We had the pandemic to deal with, which is the first time in my life that I felt like I was risk averse as an entrepreneur. All these other guys were taking PPP money and ERC money and taking loans and doing this and growing their franchise brands. And it was the first time where I said, we're not going to franchise. I don't want to franchise. I don't want to open another location. I just want to focus on what we have. It was a really scary time. But it was the first time that I pulled back, and I'm really glad that we did, because now we've awarded like 15 or 20 franchise licenses since we started franchising again. Okay, I want to go back to the park bench thing, because one of the things after we met and we started talking about business partnership, I remember you wanting to kind of see where my head was on the future, not only for the company, but also me inside the company. And I remember having this conversation with you where I told you something to the effect of, kind of similar to the guy at the park bench, like, I'm the guy that's taken it to this place. I can't think of anybody better to lead the company going forward. But if there is somebody better, I'll happily step aside. And it's not my baby from that standpoint, like, or maybe it is my baby, and I just want to see my baby grow to be the best version of itself. And if that means that someone else needs to be CEO or COO or whatever, that's what needs to happen. And it wasn't like, Glenn, this is my thing, I'm going to do it. And I just remember you reacting really positively to that. Like, wow, this guy, he gets it. He really wants what's best for the business, and he's not power hungry for the position. Do you remember us talking about that?
No, absolutely. And you absolutely are the best person. You continue to be the best person. I think you'll always be the best person. The question is, is that how long do you want to go? How long can you go? What are the things come into your life that take precedence? And when that day comes, it'll be very difficult. It'll be very big shoes to fill. It makes me think we need to really consider that strategically, like what would happen in that scenario, and do we have the proper coverages in place to ensure if something horrible were to happen to you that we could continue to operate, not only from a capital standpoint but just from systems and all intellectual capital that you hold. We really do need to focus in those areas because anything can happen at any time. We all know people, in particular, in and around post-pandemic, where I think we all know people that have just suddenly developed.
Here one day, gone the next.
Absolutely.
We just had a franchise candidate tell us he's mowing the lawn of one of his Airbnbs, and a piece of shrapnel spins out of the bottom of the lawnmower and comes and clips his head.
Mm-hmm.
More than clips, lacerates his head.
4 millimeters
Almost
from hitting the brain matter. Yeah. And, you can't really explain the trajectory of the metal. It came out the back of it, and somehow the physics don't even make sense, but it gashed him pretty bad. And he luckily was found by a maid that was coming to clean the house, and she got him to the emergency room. I myself have had some close calls, as you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone the other day. I've had 4 very close calls with death. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're here today.
It would please you to know, though, I didn't tell you that we did re-up the life insurance, the key man insurance at the company. We doubled the value. So I'm not going to tell anybody how much we have because I don't want them doing a side deal with you. They try to off me and then collect some of the money.
You're worth every penny of it, Ben.
But yeah, we are properly insured here, so don't worry about that. And we do have a great team. Liz was here earlier in our observation day. She's 12 plus years with the brand, now became a business owner, director of operations. We're sitting in Frisco. Kinsey has been with us for 13 years, who's the club operations leader, so runs the show here. A lot of 10 plus year team members in the business.
Wow.
Just some incredible people that have been with the brand almost from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So unique, so rare.
Did you hear when we went to the break room earlier, did you hear the young lady say, well, I'm one of the newer ones here.
I've only been here
since 2023.
Yeah, I heard her say it.
In the hair industry, that's so uncommon.
Oh, it totally is. It speaks volumes about the culture here. I mean, that's the secret sauce, right? You're famous for quoting Drucker, I believe. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yes. You truly believe it, and you live it every day. Your employees live it. And I just think about all the people that you're touching. I mean, it's great that you help men look and feel their best, and they leave here and they feel like $1 million. But all of the employees, the staff members, franchisees, all of the people that you've been able to give the motivation and the guidance to, and the lessons that you've been able to share with them, and the people that you're developing. I mean, you're creating better human beings in here. And people, if they do choose to leave, they're leaving with the skill set that they didn't have before they came.
They leave better. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's my one and only goal or mandate, I would say, is that you leave better than when you started. We know you may stay 6 months or 6 years or 16 years, but that when you leave, you say, I'm better off. I learned something. I grew in some way. That allows me to go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
If someone left saying I'm worse off, I don't think I could live with that. Maybe one time and just it's an anomaly, but there's a lot of businesses where people go in and they leave worse off. Less money, didn't grow, bad harassment situation, all of these bad things that happen. They leave going, I wish I would have never done this. I couldn't live with myself as a business owner.
We just had lunch with a young woman who was there at her company for 10 years and company of all men. She helped grow the business from the ground up. Been there since day one. It was time for maternity leave and they didn't allow her to take it, right? And so she decided to go out and open her own business. And when she let them know she was leaving, and it's a special nod to you, Cecily, that, they were like, well, what would it take? And she's like, nothing. You couldn't offer me anything this day. You've shown me who you are. And it's terrible to hear that. But if you want to know how we get back to 1955, That's the way we do it, Ben, is that we leave everything better than we found it, right? And if everybody would take that mindset and live, that mantra, just leave things a little bit better than you found them. Boy, we would be back in
Yeah, so
1955.
so simple.
Yeah,
So simple.
it really is.
We haven't talked a lot about this show. I told you I want to do this podcast studio, and we funded it, made it happen. Converted this meeting lounge into a really special place. I had this concept for the lounge where we send this out to our members and say, we now have the opportunity to have you on as a guest,
right,
to tell us about your Gents Place journey, your business journey, and then we'll market that podcast out via text and email and on the internet, or on the social media, as you call it, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram.
Yes.
That we'll market that out. And I got to give you a hard time, man. I mean, you're a decade older than me, so I'm surprised we're even talking. So one of my mentors, my son's mentor, actually said he met with these guys that were in their 30s, and they said, I would never listen to someone over 40. As soon as someone over 40 starts talking, I stop listening. And he's like in his 60s. And he's just like, what is wrong with these guys?
Oh, my goodness.
So I have this vision for the show where members will find it very valuable to be on.
Sure.
And talk about themselves, talk about their business. And they're on the big, quote the big screen here. They're on the screens at the Gents Place. People
YouTube.
see them on the YouTube.
Right.
It's gonna be called Gents TV. So on the Gents TV.
All right.
And that they find value and the members find value, but it's not this infomercial, where it's really good content. So I've got very interesting people.
Right.
You're really good at picking things apart, being devil's advocate, or just being a critical thinker, I would say. 'Cause a lot of times you agree with me, but you kind of let me know some of those things. Have you thought about this? Can you think of anything like challenges or anything that's wrong or challenges that we'll encounter, or like pressure testing that business model? Because the idea is they're gonna pay a fee. It costs money to produce this show, right? So the members would pay a fee to come on, to cover our costs, to get the content out. So it costs them some money. But is there anything there that you can think of? Like, am I missing the mark? Is something off? Is there a missed opportunity? Anything like that?
Well, I know the DNC is looking for the solution to Joe Rogan, so you may find that person here. No, Ben, I think it's great. I think, you kind of touched on a little bit. If this becomes an infomercial, if it becomes too hard selling, a lot of organizations, whether it's EO, YPO, others, they don't want you selling your classmates or the membership. Naturally, people gravitate towards each other. They know each other in social situation settings, business settings, and they do business together. But I think you just put some guardrails around it, and you let people tell their story, because everyone has a story that's worthy of telling. And you're going to find that some people will I guess, flock to these stories and learn from them. And others may not have so much interest, or maybe they don't have interest in just one of the particular episodes. But I think if you put the content out there, you're educating people, you're helping people learn things, as long as it comes from a place of coaching, learning, teaching. It's great. And then, so I've learned about the subject a little bit. I like the guy who you've profiled. I know he's a Gents Place member. It means he's probably a pretty good guy. And how do I get in touch with him? If I don't need the services, I don't call him. But I think it's going to be wonderful. And I know that people come to the Gents Place a lot because, they want to come to their spot where they can get away from, the white noise and the chaos of, life. But they also come here to meet,
to connect,
to connect. And that's something that, most men will tell you, they don't really have their own place anymore. Right. We all need, human contact, conversation. We are very social creatures, and some more than others. but we want to go to a place that we know people have like minds. And it's wonderful if you can even learn something in the process, right? But you want to be around people that think like you and that look at the world through the same lens or similar lens. At the same time, diversity is key to, development and growth. But, just being in a comfortable space where you can meet people is, just hard to find.
Is there any specific content as a Gents Place member, an owner in the brand,
Sure.
along with me, when you get this first email or text message that says we've launched the lounge show,
Yeah.
you see our content, is there any content that you would like to see from us or that could be helpful for you, or types of people you'd like us to profile?
Well, could you help me learn the Chat GPT?
Sure. Oh yeah, that's a really good point. If we just did one episode to teach you how to learn
some AI would be great. There's a lot of shift right now in energy going to nuclear. I'd love to learn more about those subjects. I'm an avid day trader, stock trader. I do some futures, but I'd love to learn more about cryptocurrency. I hold a little bit of it, but I'd like to learn about trading derivatives, futures with cryptocurrency. I mean, you name it. Our members have the backgrounds, whether it's in finance or it's operations or it's in marketing. I mean, these are interesting gentlemen that you have here, and in a key emphasis on gentlemen. It's a really great group of people who are proficient in their field. Many of them have climbed the corporate ladder, started at the bottom, and worked their way up. Some of them own their own businesses. Some are executives, some aren't. But there's a wealth of knowledge in here. And I like to say, you're building a village, and it takes a lot of different villagers to make a village successful. You've got to have someone to gather the water, someone to hunt, someone to provide spirituality, medicine, etc. And you have that here, and that's what makes it such an incredible and sustainable environment, is that we've got all kinds of resources in here that are, until now, untapped.
Yeah. It makes me think we might want to do a survey of some kind that asks guys for the types of content. Because I know some people are going to raise their hand and say, I want to talk about what I'm a subject matter expert in. I'd love to be on the show. But giving members an opportunity to say, man, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with tariffs, or with AI, or with what's happening in China. I mean, there's all kinds of, I have things I'm just thinking through right now. I wish I knew a guy that knew a lot about that.
Right.
I guarantee you he exists in the Gents Place membership base.
He does.
Whatever it is.
And particularly right now, I have friends that are in small business that are either resellers, retailers, some small manufacturers, and they're so confused. They don't know what the future is. Do I buy from China? Am I not buying from China? Am I paying a tariff? And I didn't this time, but it's on the next. Like there's a lot in terms of in terms of a global economy that I think oftentimes, we don't think about as American businessmen, but it all impacts us. It truly is connected in a way it never has been before. And it looks like we're making some adjustments to some of the relationships and leaning harder on others than we maybe have in the past. And there's kind of this regrouping almost from an economic standpoint. That would be fascinating to learn about. Just anything but franchising. I don't think people want to learn about franchising.
Probably not.
But if there is, I'll be happy to lend someone my advice as I did with you, and who knows where that takes us.
Yeah, and I don't know if I delved into that. I can't even remember now. I'm getting old. What happened 25 minutes ago? But if I delved into this deeper. But you had enormous experience in franchising, right? Massage Heights had 150 locations or so at the time. 15, I don't know, you guys just turned 21 years old. So for those of you who don't know Glenn, you won't find him on the social media.
No.
He never does interviews, never does anything. So you may have a hard time finding anything about Glenn, but incredible businessman, and was there at Massage Heights with his sister and his brother-in-law at the start of the business, and grew the business rapidly over time. And I was telling you a while back, not too many people can say, when you add up all of the system-wide revenue, all the revenue that brand has produced over time.
Billions.
Yeah, billions in revenue. like not too many people can say that, and may feel a little weird. It's like, well, we didn't do 1 billion, this year, and another company did 1 billion this year. So it may feel a little weird saying that, but it's true. It's true that Massage Heights has rung out at the register by over $1 billion in sales, and I aspire to do that at the Gents Place. I think we're in the 100 million, plus club. But that's really impressive. So I didn't do a proper intro. I went straight to us stealing alcohol so when I was a teen. And by the way, just for the record, because I don't know if the statute of limitations,
it's expired.
Some guy in Bulverde, Texas, the police chief is like, he's had it out for me forever.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. Someone else did it. I'm not going to tell you his name.
But his initials are MC.
Yeah, his initials are MC. He didn't tell me it was stolen. I may or may not have drank anything. Yeah. I just wanted to put all those disclaimers out.
And that's why I had such a tough time in restaurant business. I thought, man, this is for the birds. You're working,
it's hard.
At 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. It's a tough.
It's a grind. My oldest brother's a chef.
Yep.
My second oldest brother is a server. He's been a lifelong server and manager and GM in restaurants.
Yep.
My dad retired from the Air Force, bought a little bar and grill, Honey Creek Bar and Grill out in Bulverde, Texas. Mm-hmm. Did that for 10 years. So my whole family was in the restaurant business, but I remember working. I'd drive from Austin, went to UT Austin, drove to Bulverde on the weekends, and I worked in the kitchen with my dad. My dad's a brilliant guy. He's got a master's degree in human resources, a bachelor's in finance, was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. And here my dad is cooking hamburgers, doing the books, being the server, being the cashier. And I'm back there slinging hamburgers with my dad. And I remember my dad looking at me one day, because this is hard. And he said, there's a better way to make a living.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah.
I was in college, and I said, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because I was making some good money, and we had some tip money to put in my pocket to go back up to college with. But it's a tough business. But we do have, and hopefully I'll get them on the show. We have some incredible restaurateurs that are members and associated with the Gents Place that they've figured out how to crack the code.
Well, it can be a very, very noble career. I mean, feeding people. I mean, at the essence,
I love the business.
Nurturing people.
It's
not for the faint at heart. That's for sure.
It's tough, man. It's tough. One of the last things I want to talk about, just because I'm going back to the show and this is the beginning of it, sponsorship opportunities. The guests are going to have to help fund this at the beginning because it costs a lot of money and they get some benefit out of it. But I hope to get sponsors. I hope that the show is successful enough where I don't even know what it looks like. Do we have a big, Goodyear balloon in the back, and we're trying to fit ourselves in like a
NASCAR.
We're like the NASCAR, and I'm like, Glenn, put this on your forehead before the show. Pay you $100. But I do see sponsorship opportunities. I'm very green to media and sponsorship, so I'm trying to learn from people that have been there and done that. And we're not Joe Rogan with 100 million views. Maybe we'll be able to get enough views one day to get some good sponsorships, but I see an opportunity for that. Whether it's we could do it. Maybe we do a placement right now, Glenn, where this is for what's your favorite water?
My favorite water?
Yeah, what's the favorite bottled water that you drink?
Aquafina is fine.
Okay, so this is, I hope you're enjoying your Aquafina water, in the glass right now. So here, this is, we'll do a quick.
Yes. Oh, wow. This is amazing Aquafina water.
This is going to cost Aquafina quite a bit of money.
Yes, it is.
For this.
In perpetuity.
That's right. Yes. So, yeah, I think.
You will, Ben.
I think we'll be able to get that.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that you're going to have some gentlemen that are innovators that say, hey, I see what you're doing here. Visionaries, we have a lot of them at the Gents Place. These are people that can see the forest through the trees. They're going to say, this is something that I want to be part of. I want to be on the ground floor of it. I want to be a title sponsor, flagship sponsor, whatever it may be. And your episodes will reach lots of people as long as you keep the content, fresh in things that are current, that people need to know, need to learn, would like to learn, maybe are too afraid to ask. Another recommendation I have is I have a men's group, meet once a week. You wouldn't believe the things that we share, because men just feel like they can't go tell their wife or their children, I'm afraid of this. I'm scared of that. I'm tired of this. And so we have this kind of safe place where we can come on a weekly basis, and someone leads, one of the members. There's 7 of us, 8 of us. Different member leads every single week. They bring the topic, and then we all talk through it, and it's really helpful. But the number one thing that people say is, I just needed to be able to share this with someone, right? And I think sharing and being vulnerable is maybe it's not maybe second nature to us.
It's not easy.
It's not easy,
especially coming from where I came from, military family.
Yeah.
You keep your emotions inside,
close to the chest, right? And as a businessman, business person, you're supposed to keep your cards close to your chest. If you're vulnerable, some people think that you're weak. But what I learned long ago, Ben, is that a strong man is one who can expose his underbelly, can show his scars, that can show his weaknesses, knowing that if someone tries to take advantage anyway, that he's strong enough to get back up off his back and to handle his business. And so I try to be vulnerable. I do my best at it.
I hope we get a guest on the show that can, maybe a leading expert that can talk about that for guys that struggle with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of having a men's group of some kind, a weekly meetup, a bi-weekly meetup. Your group is incredibly diverse, just from an age standpoint. You've got some 20-somethings to 70-somethings.
Almost 80.
Almost 80 years old. And I bet you the almost 80-year-old learns something from the 20-something every week, and vice versa.
Absolutely true. It would be one dull world if we all looked alike, talked alike, thought alike. And with those age disparities or gaps, there's quite a bit of things that they find in common, but oftentimes different perspectives, different thoughts. And, it's not a judgmental place. It's one where we aren't judged for how we think or what we have to say. We've got a couple of ground rules. We keep the politics out of it. And, we don't repeat the things to our families. We don't go home and say, oh, this person's having a hard time financially, or this person is, going through a divorce, or considering even, what it would look like to go through a divorce. But yeah, men just don't have a place to go like that. And that's part of why they come to the Gents Place. But that solves only part of the challenges that we face as men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this podcast will be an extension, like an arm outreach to them to come in, consume some good content that will help them in their life.
Sure.
Encourage them to do the best thing for themselves, which might mean maybe they watch some of our content and they finally have, the tough conversation they've needed to have with their wife or with their kid or with themselves.
You referred a good book to me recently.
Yeah.
Super Couple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you endorsed that book. Yeah. Maybe this is a little nugget somebody can take away from this conversation right here. It'd be worth opening up.
Yeah. It's, I think that's going to be beyond the business side of things. I do want our guys to do business with each other, because I just know, I know, Glenn, you two need to do business together.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's something more holistic that can come out of it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I know you got to catch a flight, and I appreciate you coming on short notice, having me surprise you with the podcast. Andrew, you got to help us out here, and I want this on recording. We need to bleep out Aquafina, and just all we're gonna do is every time I said Aquafina, you just bleep it out, just like we did right now. You gotta do it, just 5 seconds ago, bleep it out, and then I'm gonna take it to Dr. Pepper Keurig headquarters, which is right here.
Right.
I mean,
we could insert your name.
This could be you.
This could
be on this episode forever.
Yeah, sure.
So Glenn, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And until next time on the lounge, we'll see you guys again soon.